Hi Anu.
Morning, Deepa.
Morning, good morning, good morning. So good to see you.
Great to see you too.
So Anu has is a marketer, as you all know, with HD, and she says she's a marketer by choice and a dog lover, where uh, she has no choice. I think that's what I think. Marketer by choice and dog lover because that's really how she's made up in.
Yeah, so animal lover, like animal, nature, trees, plants, every creature actually. And dogs are a very obvious one because they surround us, they live with us, all around us as humans. But yeah, I think I just love all animals and all creatures.
So Anu, were you always like this?
Um, yes, Deepa. I think I've just been blessed with this love I feel for all animals from as far back as I remember. I mean, I haven't seen any, a picture of mine as a kid without in which I'm not holding an animal. So my instinct was always to reach out and love animals. I've just been wired that way. I think I've been blessed.
So as a child, when you were aspiring and talking about what you want to be when you grow up, did those choices have animals around them?
Animals were just a part of who I was and my life and my being. But no, it kind of didn't really, anything and everything that I did, animals have been a part of my life. So it's almost like who I am. And I haven't looked at it as a choice that I could have, gone into a profession that got me closer or helped me serve animals, which is a pity. I wish it had. I wish I had become a vet. I would have been able to help so many more animals. I remember as I was very good in biology, and I was, hoping to become a doctor, which I eventually didn't. But I hated dissection because there would be a poor little frog on the table who, for no fault of his, was now lying there for us to learn. And I thought it was extremely cruel. It put me off veterinary medicine. It just ruled out veterinary medicine for me as as an option because there was no part of me. I think it was like, I wish I had kind of done that. So it's just been a part of my life, and they've been a part of my life. But I wish I had kind of thought a little bit more about making myself a bit more capable of helping them.
So when you say help, do you gravitate to an animal that's in need, in pain, or do you gravitate in a space of the magnetism of the pull of love, or the way they draw you to you? Where are you really motivated to move the most?
I think it is fundamentally love. Um I think all of us humans have this capacity to love and this desire to love and be loved. And I just find animals are the most receiving of that love. They are the easiest to love. There are no complexities, um, no emotions which might get, misconstrued. It's just so easy to love animals. Also, I think that in a sense, there's this purity in that relationship that has always drawn me. So I think my primary motivation is to just love. My instinct is to love. But then I'm a human and I realize that I live in a world in which I have an extraordinary advantage over them. Uh, I have the power to be able to, I enjoy privileges as a human that they do not. And because I love them so much, then that makes me want to share that privilege, to use that privilege to be able to bring them into my circle of protection, if it were, whatever I can do. And then when you love somebody, you cannot also see them in distress. They cannot walk themselves into a hospital. They cannot ask for help. They have pretty much the same issues that we all do. They suffer from acidity, dehydration. We've taken away water sources. They don't have enough water to drink. Um, uh, you know, We may not realize it, but they do not get water to drink. We think water is a plenty. It isn't in cities. Look around us. So they have pretty much the same issues, and with zero access to any of the facilities that we as humans do. And so that naturally once then sets me thinking about what I could do to kind of support them. We've taken away nature's infrastructure that would have supported them. So can we then, and we've benefited from that. We have houses and schools and beautiful parks and uh, malls that we've for our own enjoyment, that animals and all the other creatures who I think have an equal right to the earth cannot partake of. So how about sharing our resources, our privileges, our ability to help with them? And so from there comes this desire to help, to extend. I cannot watch an animal in distress, and then I will do everything that I can to help them, be it medical, be it water, be it food. It's just a very natural then extension of my relationship with them.
And who are your collaborators in this journey of doing something, if I may, for animals in urban spaces, creatures in urban spaces?
I have, there are many, many people. I'm very heartened to see that the community is growing. Uh, I think there are just people, individuals who feel the same way, who are wired the same way, who are compassionate, who recognize animals as being equals in, for a lot of us, we seek animals as equals. And so we find collaborators. I find collaborators everywhere. It could be a rickshawala, it could be a colleague, it could be a boss, it could be anybody. But I find my collaborators. I find people who are, willing to help or extend their support, or they are doing stuff on their own, which I'm very, very happy to see. As such, and then there are beautiful NGOs. There's Friendicos in Delhi, which does a great job of providing absolutely top class medical care. Lots of NGOs. There's All Creatures Great and Small, many NGOs. And I just find that here are people who've actually organized themselves. So I collaborate. I collaborate with everyone and anyone. There are no boundaries when it comes to helping animals. And I just reach out and find anybody and anyone who's willing to help. I'm constantly reaching out to my circle of friends whenever I have a puppy or a kitten for adoption. I shamelessly reach out to anyone and everyone to help.
And what is Bowl of Life and the logo? Tell us a little bit about this.
So, Deepa, when I was a child, I would find, in India, it's not uncommon to have a street animal come by your doorstep, or on the street. And my instinct would be, and they'd always be foraging for food. They're always sniffing around for food. My instinct would be to share my food. I'd want to share, offer them something from my house. I'd go home and I'd get inside and I'd ask my mother to spare. We always have food to spare. So some milk or some rotis or bread. The first thing then that we would start searching for was a bowl. My mother would look for a bowl that she could spare, that she didn't, have to reclaim, and that would get thrown away. I'm talking of the time that I was a child. There weren't so many plastic disposable containers. So there would be this big scramble to find a bowl. And I realized that if I had a bowl, and very often by the time we found a bowl that my mother was willing to dispose of and, forever, the animal would have gone, would have moved on. And I would feel really sad that it was for the lack of a bowl that I could not offer food to an animal. And so and I realized that a bowl actually has miraculous powers. It has the power to give life. If it is filled with food and water, it can sustain life. Uh, how magical is that? Look at the power that a bowl has. And I said, what if I had a bowl? I would always have bowls in my house, in my car, in my office, so that the lack of a bowl never kept me from helping an animal. A thirsty animal that I encounter by the side of a road, a thirsty bird. The lack of a bowl would never stop me from helping an animal. And so that gave birth to this concept of it's a bowl of life. It's magical, you know, if you have a bowl that you have designated as a bowl for helping an animal, invariably food will find its way into that bowl, food and water. Uh, I promise you, if you have a bowl in your house that you have promised to use, it will magically attract food. It will magically attract water, and it will help someone. It will find a way to help someone who really needs it.
So beautiful, Anu. In fact, you also express so well, you write so well, you are someone who is a very evocative communicator. How have you used all of these to communicate and to convey, and what are the media and the platforms you use to convey this thought?
Uh, Thank you, Deepa, for that. It's just, I think it's just that my love for animals and my love for words uh, finds, you know, these two loves come together, and it's the best. I love writing. I love communicating, and what better? I think it just pours out of me my love for animals. Um, and so when I thought of this concept of bowl of life, I've had experiences all through my growing up years as an adult. In my microcosm of being, I've seen the animal-human conflict in cities, and I thought that the only way out of it is yes, I do stand up for animal rights. I'm a very vocal advocate of animal rights. I make sure I protect animal rights wherever I am. And the Indian law is very, very progressive, actually. It's one of the best in the world. Our provisions for securing the rights of animals is absolutely brilliant. Implementation, of course, is a bit of a challenge because of resources. But having said that, I've realized that the best way is really if I could share this love, if I could somehow get across to people this love for animals, if I could make them love an animal, I wouldn't have to tell them what to do. I would never have to then protect an animal. I don't, I suffer from no illusion about how much I can do on my own. I cannot. If I could just help people see animals differently, if I could help sow this seed of love in their hearts, they would do it. And so I thought that I would create a platform to talk to children. I also firmly believe that children are very innocent. They're born with a desire to love. Then they get conditioned by these notions that they are not safe, animals are dirty, don't touch them, they bite. No child, I think a lot of children intuitively reach out. So the only way to change the world is one child at a time. And I hit upon this idea that I would, create this platform called Bowl of Life. I would visit schools. I would talk to children. I would educate children about, or I would just share my thoughts. Uh, Educate children is it's too strong. I would just like to share my love and share my thoughts about animals with children and see where they took it. Um, a copywriter friend of mine from JWT, a very dear friend, she offered to illustrate it for me, and I said I want to, uh, create something that will appeal to a child. So she created this beautiful little book, or a series of messages that we put together. Her name is Sumati, and I'm very grateful to her. Another friend, Chanchal, ran an agency and offered to design this a logo for me, and we jammed together and co-created this logo. So a lot of people came together. I now have a Facebook page which is called Bowl of Life, in which you can see some of these. It's designed for children, to attract children, and to talk to them in simple words about why we should support animals. What does it mean? What is this animal human partnership that we could strive for? Um, I haven't admittedly taken it, I haven't yet been to a school, I haven't yet spoken to children, but I speak to children in my environment, my friends. I meet in the neighborhood, in the basti close by. So yeah, it's a start, and the idea is to just be able to make people see how I see animals, and who knows, it might strike a chord with them. Who knows where they will take it actually.
Lovely. So, for the viewers, you must be wondering, we're talking about love of animals and what is Anu doing on the Torchbearer, and what makes her a torchbearer. And I must tell you that a couple of weeks ago, I saw this video of Anu and the work she was doing during lockdown. So, Anu, you want to tell our viewers a little bit about what happened? What was that first day that you decided to do what you started doing day after day, night after night, for many many months? So tell us, go back to that moment when you felt you had to order that pedigree and put that food together in the bowl.
So, when the lockdown happened, Deepa, I think this thought struck a lot of animal lovers at the same time that animals would go hungry, street animals would go hungry. Dogs in urban spaces actually depend on humans for their sustenance. They depend on leftovers from dhabas, from the laborers who share their food with them. A lot of leftovers. We suddenly realized that the laborers were gone, the dhabas were shut, the restaurants were shut. Where would these dogs get their food from? And so it just occurred to me, for years and years, I've been wanting to, I feed animals around my house. But for years, I've been wanting to do something more, step out of the comfort of my house, get out. And I have many, many thoughts in my head. Um, but what would I do? What would I step out and take action? And suddenly now here was an opportunity for me to do that. It was time to act. So that a day I ordered a large bag of pedigree food. I, gathered all the bottles from our home, the jerry cans that were lying around, filled them with water, put everything in the boot of my car, piled up newspapers, and I went out. And I found, not very far from my house, I found clusters of dogs sitting hungry, sure enough. And I found one spot, and there were about 10 dogs that came running, hoping to get some food. So I put out newspapers, I put out scoops of food, they ate. I put out bowls of water, they drank. I moved to another spot, another spot. I found three spots very close to my house at night, and about 30 dogs. And I decided from now on, one meal a day was my responsibility. And Deepa, I'm not a disciplined person. I procrastinate. I think a lot more than I do. But that satisfaction of seeing a few hungry souls eat, and the gratitude in their eyes, and the joy that they gave me back in return, I did not miss a single day. I could not. I have always wondered how people could step out day after day, how people meditate, how people do yoga every day, how people do exercise, stick to a routine. I've never been able to do it. And yet here I was doing it. I didn't miss a single day, not when my mum was in hospital undergoing a surgery and I was her attendant. I got out of hospital at midnight to come and see the dogs. And it's just shown me that the only way to make an impact is consistently showing up. It showed me the power of, and the connect I made in a time of lockdown when there was stress in our homes, at job, at the work. We were all undergoing, we were worried about, anxious about what was going on, the health of our parents, there were people who were falling sick around us. And I was making connections on the street. My parents would worry about me being on the street out there at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. And they really never needed to, because strangers would stop and, ask me to, bless me and say, thank you for doing this. They would actually look out for me. The police constable would stop and ask me if I was okay. Women in cars would stop and ask me if the police guy was harassing me. They would be worried about me. It was amazing. There was one lone DTC bus driver who would be flying on that route, perhaps on government duty. He would stop and wave to me every day and ask me if I was okay. The the connections I made, and it was amazing at a time that could have been so stressful for all of us. I found a way to, it just gave me, I actually tapped into the source of joy and connection with people I would never ever have connected. I passed around my number freely. I have not got one uh, undesirable call. On the other hand, strangers have stopped to offer me money and forced me to take money um, to help, to contribute to the cause. So it's just been, in the lockdown. I mean, the lockdown broke down the structure of my everyday, but it allowed me to put in place a new structure to do things that I otherwise would never have done. So it was such a blessing, and it was just an opportunity to put into practice what I otherwise always wanted to, but never somehow found the time or the energy for.
So beautiful. I mean, I am moved, and I'm sure whoever's watching this video live or is going to watch a recording is going to feel exactly this way. So powerful, and so so vivid, the way you bring everything to life. Anu, you are also moved by poetry. I've seen you always, go to the Jaipur, festivals. You appreciate Gulzar Saab's work.
Oh,
Do you also write? Do you also write poetry? And have you thought of even collaborating with him, because he has the impact with this idea of getting kids to love animals.
Gulzar Sahab actually is like, yeah, I worship him, and I call him God actually. He's my God. Uh, I think the one thing that I find, and the reason I find his poetry so beautiful, is because he actually he treats trees and birds and grass and the sky as if they were human. He gives them a voice. He lends them a voice. um, there's this beautiful, and he's got a whole bunch of nature poetry. He actually lends them a voice. There's this beautiful poem. I wish I had, I have a, I could have read that out for you. But he talks about a tamarind tree, which is very angry. And why? Because the tamarind tree grows next to a bus stop, and all the passengers about to alight the bus, they stub their cigarettes on this tamarind tree. So the tamarind tree is very angry because it's burnt. And then one day it says, मैंने भी चींटियां पाल ली हैं. So I am gonna kind of get back because now I have this army of ants that's going to protect me. And how beautiful is that? To recognize that a tree may feel pain, may feel burnt, it doesn't want to, but I can never ever throw garbage or butts into a pot or under a tree. I think his ability to see life in everything is what really really draws me to him. And you know, uh, now that you mentioned poetry, may I read something that I heard this beautiful young poet who, recited at President Biden's inauguration, Amanda Gorman. And there are these lines of her poem that struck me. It says, "But one thing is certain, if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright."
Beautiful.
And that's what it is.
Beautiful.
We are, as humans, we are so privileged. We are so powerful. We have just so many resources at our disposal. We can mobilize so many resources. We can mobilize the whole world. And here are these creatures who have an equal right to this planet, to the earth, to its resources. We've taken disproportionate amount of resources from them, and at their cost. Why would we not show them kindness? Why would we not share? And kindness to me also, it's not, I don't think, it's just that it's their right. It's their right. They have a right to this earth. Before we came and bought this piece of land and created a boundary wall and called them straight, they were born here. That dog who lives outside your house has a stronger connect with the earth than you ever will. You will sell your house and move to a better one in a heartbeat. He will not. He smells that earth, he lives on it, he sleeps on it. He has a connection with that earth that you do not. And so it is his earth first before it is yours. And if anything, it's an equal earth. You're equal. And, revel in that joy of this shared love for the earth on which you both live, and share it. And I think this whole, my for everything that I think, I seem to think from the point of view of an animal. And then I have realized that over a period of time, it helps me also expand my circle of thinking to other beings, other humans who are not as privileged, who cannot buy the same things that you and I can. And how do we treat them? So, from wherever we start, I think if there's love and there's compassion, it's invariable that your circle will expand to include others outside of yourself. And that is my dream, and that is what I'd love to be able to do and spread.
So beautiful, Anu. It's really, really heartfelt. So, some people who are thinking out there, and this is the last minute of our talk, what is it that I can do? What would you tell them? Young, old, middle aged, child, parent?
Just look at animals and treat them as equals. They are not any lesser. Look out for the animal, the bird outside your house. You have lots of food that you throw. Uh, Put some out for the animal outside. He has a right to it because we've taken away his food, his natural sources of food. Put out a bowl of water for the birds, for the animals. Don't chop trees mercilessly. It's home to someone. When she comes back, that bird, she will not find her home. Don't do that. Um, Plant trees that have fruit. Don't just plant ornamental trees which are pretty to look at. Plant trees. Plant the people. Plant fruit trees that birds can eat off. Um, don't chase away monkeys when they come into your colonies. They have no fruit. I wish you would plant fruit trees. I wish every colony would set aside a little place, a park on which they would only grow fruit trees, that they would not then go into and make parks of and plant grass in. Let the monkeys eat. Don't capture langurs then to drive the monkeys away. uh, Share the earth. I mean, enjoy the bounty of this earth, the sunlight, the sky, the air, the water. Make sure that we are leaving enough and actually creating more to share with others who depend on us. Um, there could be a beautiful partnership between humans and animals. Create those partnerships. Because you know what, and that's not for me to tell you, but you will experience what that you will get far more out of it than they ever will from you.
Anu, that was a lot of loving wisdom and great ideas in this bowl of life. You've given us the idea of this bowl and the idea that once we set the bowl, that bowl will magically draw water and food, and that we should have and find that one bowl and keep it in time so that the animal or the creature that comes to our door doesn't go away hungry. Thank you for that very, very beautiful, heartfelt, and poignant message you've given us this Torchbearer Thursday. This has been one of my favoriteest Torchbearer Thursdays ever.
Thank you so much, Deepa. It's an honor and it's a privilege, and I'm so grateful that you invited me to talk about something that I anyway can't stop talking about.
Thank you. Thank you. And we will speak again sooner rather than later.
Thank you so much, Deepa.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.